That's something that I've been thinking about a little bit, Joshua. I mean, we've been saying it. I saw our friend Bruce Feldman wrote it, but Curt Cignetti is the best coach in college football now, right? Like he has dethroned Kirby Smart from the top spot.
Without a doubt. And this is when you say that, I think people get really sensitive because, for some reason they take that as like, we don't think Kirby's a good coach, or we don't think Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman or Dan Lanning or whoever you want to put at the one, spots ahead of Curt Cignetti before this year. They act like we're saying that those people can't coach. And it's just not the case. It's just the fact that Curt Cignetti has proven his ability to win a title, and he's done it at a place that has historically never done it. And people would say up until this year would not be able to win a title. And I think the other thing that becomes intriguing when you talk about how good of a coach he is for so long in this sport, the best coaches were synonymous with being able to accumulate the best talent and to recruit the most difficult areas and to win the biggest recruiting battles. And as you and I have talked about, your ability to recruit and close on big time recruits is a secondary skill set in this day and age of college football. You actually have to be a coach, a strategist, a guy who can go in there, win in the margins, a guy who can go in there, create game plans, a guy who can teach his players, and ultimately a guy who can help develop in that way. And, Ryan Day could recruit. Kirby Smart could recruit. Dan Lanning can recruit. Like Signetti, portal class looks pretty good, but we haven't seen that. And I think a lot of people are still stuck in that you have to be an A1 recruiter to be the best coach in the country too.
Well, also when you think about like coaching tiers, which I used to give, contribute to, they do them at the Athletic, and other outlets do them too. Usually the top tier is the coaches that have a national championship. There's not many active coaches right now that have them. We're up to 4, right? It's
Right.
Dabo, Kirby, Ryan Day, and now Curt Cignetti.
Yes.
So that is the group that you're talking about when you talk about winning with a team that is not as talented as many of the teams that it played over the course of the season. You immediately need to give the edge to coaching, and then all of the other reasons that we've talked about his talent identification, the preparation, the coaching staff, all of the things that go into that, I think is part of it. I want to play sound from the press conference that Curt Cignetti gave the day after the national championship, which they make them do this at 9 a.m., which is so funny after they probably have not slept just as we haven't. And I thought this was a really interesting observation about where college football is today. So here's Coach.
The question players just answered about Indiana, I think that's called a paradigm shift. It's kind of like people can cling to an old way of thinking, categorizing teams as this or that, or conferences as this or that, or they can adjust to the new world, the shift of the power balance in the way college football is today. So, I think to look back at what happened to Indiana previous to us coming 10, 20, 50 years ago, strictly lacked a commitment from the top. That's it. Plain and simple. Nothing else. And we have a commitment.
I think that's part of it. You also now have Curt Cignetti, and
you felt like he was oversimplifying what really was.
But again, but part of this is going to give hope to a lot more places. And I
a lot of places don't have that guy.
That's what so this is what I want to go. I don't think everyone else is going to have a Curt Cignetti who comes with like these coaches that have been with him for when they were, at IUP or Elon, like that they've been working together for 20 years or 10 years, whatever, forget what year he left.
The guy who is 10 years, over 10 years, or the guy who can say, all right, this linebacker maybe a little bit undersized, maybe not the fastest in a straight line, but he's really smart. He's got quick feet. He's got a really good punch. He knows how to win at the point of attack. I don't know a lot of guys that can do that at the level that Curt Cignetti has done it. And so, yes, we've talked about elite alignment, and we've talked about that university probably needing to be studied in an academic sense on how they were able to fully align. We agree on that. But part of it was they also bucked the trend, and they went with the guy who was outside of the box as a coaching hire and ended up like getting the best coach in the game. That absolutely matters too.
Right. So I think that like people will be able to take lessons from Indiana and improve, in shorter timelines than ever before. Maybe people will look for outside the box hires and coaches that have had success at lower levels. We always say that, and then they still want the hotshot coordinator names, but whatever. There might be some that look outside of the box, but I just don't think you're going to see a bunch of teams that win national championships in 2 years. I do think you could see more of the non-blue blood teams get far in the playoff era. Like we've talked a lot about Texas Tech.
Sure.
Indiana feels like it's going to be a unicorn here. Like I think everyone can want to be them, can want to copy things that they're going to do, but they're not going to be Indiana. Indiana is Indiana.
It's a one of one. And like, even with Texas Tech, and like we've seen Texas Tech have like great years, right? Like we've
Patrick
seen
Mahomes was there.
Right. I mean, who was it? Crabtree and like all those guys,
Yeah.
like they've had some of those teams where it's like, maybe not a championship year. They've had some very good years. Like Indiana, really, really difficult to look and be like, okay, what was the previous high point of that program? Like Michael Penix Jr. with the go-go gadget arm. Like that was it. And like outside of that, I can't tell you. And that's where I think it's hard to say that we'll see something like this. Like even with Tech, they've been around talent. Like they've had some decent years. They've had a guy like Mike Leach, who a lot of people think is, one of the best guys to coach in the game of football, an innovator and somebody who people have modeled their programs after before. I just think it's different with Indiana.
Yeah, they have touch points to like the history of college football. Indiana did not. And yeah, I mean, you had Lee Corso, you had like some people who had ties to this program, but you never had those highs and those moments like you're describing. It's kind of why it was funny to talk to people over the weekend of like, hey, it's not like Indiana's like a long suffering fan base. Like they've not had these like crushing losses because they just never had hope. It was like a very different 138 years to get here. Right. But you never believed that you were a football place or football program. My cousins who would go to games, who went to Indiana, did not go to games. Like it wasn't part of who they were. And I think that's totally different than like heartbreaking loss over heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss and then finally winning a title. So that's what's a little bit different about this. But I do think the hope that they will give to more people that something is possible at a place that never thought it was possible is huge.
I think that's important for sure. But really let's not get ahead of ourselves.
No, it is good for the sport. Yeah, we're just saying like you're not going to just don't expect a national championship in 2 years everywhere. Right. Like I just think that's the part that's maybe not going to happen.